I do the same exercises I did 50 years ago and they still work. I eat the same food I ate 50 years ago and it still works. Maria is the best reason to come home. I would never exchange my life with anybody else's. It's time to stop thinking of the Republican Party as an exclusive club where your ideological card is checked at the door, and start thinking about how we can attract more solution-based leaders like Nathan Fletcher and Anthony Adams. I am a big believer in education, because when I grew up in Austria, I had a great education. I had great teachers. I can promise you that when I go to Sacramento, I will pump up Sacramento. Women are the engine driving the growth in California's economy. Women make California's economy unique. The writing is important, but the way you say the line and the pause you give it, the facial expression, all of that is very important. You can scream at me, call me for a shoot at midnight, keep me waiting for hours, as long as what ends up on the screen is perfect. To restore the trust of the people, we must reform the way the government operates. Gray Davis can run a dirty campaign better than anyone, but he can't run a state. Politically there were failures. And also on the personal level, there were tremendous failures. I have inhaled, exhaled everything. When the people become involved in their government, government becomes more accountable, and our society is stronger, more compassionate, and better prepared for the challenges of the future. I was striving to be the most muscular man, and it got me into the movies. It got me everything that I have. For 20 years, Simon & Schuster asked me, "Why don't you write your autobiography?" "I'll be back" always sounded a little girly to me. In this country, it doesn't make any difference where you were born. It doesn't make any difference who your parents were. It doesn't make any difference if, like me, you couldn't even speak English until you were in your 20s. I was born in Europe, and I've traveled all over the world. I can tell you that there is no place, no country, that is more compassionate, more generous, more accepting, and more welcoming than the United States of America. I speak directly to the people, and I know that the people of California want to have better leadership. They want to have great leadership. They want to have somebody that will represent them. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, young or old. I have plenty of money, unlike other Hollywood celebrities or athletes that have not invested well. People need to be insured so when you have an accident out there, or when something catastrophic happens to you, that you're covered and there's not someone else has to pay for you. That is as simple as that. As president, Reagan worked very well with Democrats to do big things. It is true that he worked to reduce the size of government and cut federal taxes, and he eliminated many regulations, but he also raised taxes when necessary. One of my movies was called True Lies. It's what the Democrats should have called their convention. Even with my divorce and with everything, I don't need money. I think that people are interested seeing me on the screen. The biggest problem that we have is that California is being run now by special interests. All of the politicians are not anymore making the moves for the people, but for special interests, and we have to stop that. I told Warren if he mentions Prop 13 one more time, he has to do 500 push-ups. We are a forward-looking people, and we must have a forward-looking government. Well, I think that California has had a history of always spending more money than it takes in. I believe with all my heart that America remains the great idea that inspires the world. It is a privilege to be born here. It is an honor to become a citizen here. It is a gift to raise your family here, to vote here, and to live here. I know a lot of athletes and models are written off as just bodies. I never felt used for my body. And now, of course this is another thing I didn't count on, that now as the governor of the state of California, I am selling California worldwide. You see that? Selling. I came to Hollywood and within a decade I was one of the biggest action stars of all time. Everything I have, my career, my success, my family, I owe to America. What's fascinating is, people in Washington would rather spend time in Hollywood, and people in Hollywood would rather spend time in Washington.